So there's a lot of research on eating habits. There are really two reasons kids gain or engage in, food for refusal. There's obviously those physical or biological causes. So make sure you talk to your child's pediatrician to rule those out first. But research also suggests that food refusal may be maintained by positive reinforcement, meaning a child refuses some food they don't like, and then they gain access to food that they like. So, oh, I don't want to have this chicken for dinner. Okay, well, here's a piece of pizza instead. So they're gaining access to something they want. Um, Another reason they may engage in food refusal is that when students refuse to eat food, oftentimes that meal is terminated. So the thing that they don't like is then taken away, which can be reinforcing. So those are all reasons. But again, I can't stress the importance enough of checking in with your pediatrician when you do have concerns about eating. Here are just some basic interventions for some food selectivity. Parents eating with their children. So again, making a schedule and having mealtime be communal. Seeing parents eat the same foods that children are presented with at times increases the likelihood that the child will try that food. So all eating together and eating similar meals is really helpful. Having siblings sit together in school, a lot of eating problems take care of themselves because all the students are eating at the same time, which is really nice. It provides a model of students eating a variety of food and also doesn't have other kids doing different things while another student is expected to eat. That same kind of setup should be set up in the home where everybody's eating together at the same time. Some of the same things to provide that modeling and decrease the activity going on elsewhere. Another thing we can do, and we'll talk about this in more detail on the next slide, is offer less desirable food first and keep it on the plate even if the child does not eat it. So offer those things first, allow them to see it and interact with it before providing them with more preferred food. It's really important to remember that fluids can fill a child up. So a lot of times we might put out a glass of water or their juice first and they start to drink that. Students can fill up on those liquids. So just be mindful of that. Consider your child's caloric intake and watch the snacks. We want our students to be hungry when they come to lunch or dinner. And we want to provide them with healthy snacks when we can, but we just have to watch the proximity of having a snack and then coming to lunch or dinner. And then remember the rule of the magic 8. So students should try a food 8 times before they rule it out. So that means actually putting it in their mouth and tasting it. Now, getting to this point might take a long time, right? We might need to tolerate the food on our plate, then touch the food, then put the food on the fork, then bring it to our lips, then kiss the food, then put it in our mouths and spit it out, then eat it. We might have to take a lot of successive approximations to get to actually trying a food 8 times. But, once you put a food on your child's plate and they say they don't like it, try it 8 more times before you rule out that food as something they don't like. We can use our reinforcement, which we have a whole PowerPoint on for eating. We can use something called the Premack principle. So eat this first, and then you can have this. This Premack principle is an evidence-based strategy, but it's also called Grandma's Law, right? So first eat your green beans, then you can have dessert, something we use all the time. So that's just a simple way. First, food that maybe is not as preferred, and then we move on to food that's more preferred. Of course, just like we talked about, reinforcing those successful approximations. So tolerating the food on your plate, touching it, holding it, talking about it, bringing it to your lips, putting a little piece on your tongue. All of those things are getting us closer to actually ingesting the food. So it's important to set up a plan to reinforce those successive approximations. And again, you can talk to me or your child's teacher if you want to set something up like this. And then, of course, there are some kinds of token systems or rewards for eating specific foods at home. When I was teaching kindergarten one year, we had a fruits and veggies graph. And if we ate so many fruits in 1 week, we would earn some kind of reinforcer at the end. All right, we talked about sleeping a little bit. We talked about eating. I just wanted to briefly go over toilet training. Some of the things we need to look for when we're talking about toilet training is bladder control. So if students are urinating a little bit, several times a day, many times a day, they might not have bladder control. So bladder control is urinating a lot at one time and the ability to stay dry for several hours. We want to look to see before we start to potty train a child if they seem aware when they need to go. So it might be facial expression, postures, moving to a particular part of the house or a room because they know that they're using it. Um, Physical readiness, this is a really hard one for some of our kiddos. If they're going to learn to independently use the bathroom, they need to be able to walk to the bathroom, stand still in front of the toilet or sit on the toilet, and then, of course, pull down their own pants, which sometimes can be hard. If we do choose to potty train our child, we want to make sure that they're really well, that we don't want them to have the cold or be in any discomfort when we start to train them. And then when we do start to train them, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate clothing. So loose fitting underpants that they can get down easily, maybe some training pants. If you're at home, you can have your child just wear their underpants so it's easy to catch those accidents. And then you want a shorter shirt. So if they're learning to go to the bathroom, if they're a male, standing up, the shirt doesn't get in their way. And then for females, they can see when they have success in the toilet. All right. So things that you're going to need for potty training is you really need a stick to it attitude and you need time. We recommend 3 to 4 days of having nothing, which during this time of remote learning, you might have, fewer things going on. So it might be a good time if your child has all those prerequisites on the previous slide. You're going to need underpants. For your child. For some of our kiddos, they've been able to select their own, which kind of increases the motivation for wearing those underpants. So if your child can, maybe give them the opportunity to select which underpants they would like to wear. You will need a timer if you start taking your child on a schedule because things get busy and it's nice to have a reminder. And you're going to need reinforcers. Reinforcers meaning things that your child really, really prefers and it's going to increase behavior. And for potty training, we recommend that those reinforcers are not available at any other time. So your child only gets that piece of Milky Way or only gets access to that particular game on an iPad for successive voids in the toilet. And then, of course, the clothing we talked about on the last page. The procedure we like to use is a little bit of an adaptation of Azrin and Fox. You can buy this book on Amazon or wherever, but it's a toilet training, rapid toilet training procedure that helps behaviorally based. We use it at school. With some variations depending on kids, but it involves, having your child drink a lot of liquids, taking them to the bathroom frequently, and of course, reinforcing those successive voids on the toilet. All right, make sure again, we just went over some of the basic strategies here, but make sure again, if you have any questions or want to establish a sleep routine or think you're ready to start potty training or introducing your child to new foods, reach out to us. We would love to help you come up with a system and support you in these healthy habits for your child. Thanks, everybody.